Most people spend their lives chasing comfort. We crave routine, seek predictability, and hold on tightly to what feels safe. But here's the hard truth: comfort never made anyone grow. If you're comfortable, you're not growing, you're just maintaining. Think about it. When was the last time you really leveled up in life because everything was easy? Growth, real transformational growth, only begins when we get uncomfortable. At a discomfort, it's not a sign to turn back. It's a sign you're exactly where you're supposed to be. We often avoid discomfort because it's scary, because it feels like failure. But fear is not a stop sign. Fear is a signal. It tells you you're doing something new. It tells you you're stretching beyond your limits. It tells you that you're evolving. Comfort feels good. It's safe, familiar, and predictable. It's the place where nothing threatens you, where challenges are minimal and everything feels under control. But that's exactly why it's dangerous. Because while comfort protects us, it also paralyzes us. It whispers to us that everything is fine as it is, that we don't need to change, that growth can wait. And that's a lie. The truth is, comfort is the enemy of progress. Nothing great has ever come from staying comfortable. Innovation doesn't happen in places where people are content with the status quo. Leaders don't rise by doing what they've always done. Champions aren't born on soft couches or in easy routines. They're forged in the fire of discomfort, in struggle, in uncertainty. Growth, real, meaningful, lasting growth, requires friction. It requires pressure. It requires discomfort. Think about it in your own life. Every time you've truly grown, every time you've become stronger, wiser, more capable, it's been through a moment that pushed you. It wasn't when everything was going right. It was when things felt tough. It was the difficult conversation, the job you were scared to take, the challenge you thought was too big for you. Those moments didn't feel good when you were in them, but afterward, you looked back and realized that was where the growth happened. That's where you evolved. Comfort, on the other hand, is deceptive. It tricks you into believing that you're okay just as you are, even when you're not moving forward. It keeps you in the same job, even though you're unfulfilled. It stops you from starting the business, taking the risk, having the conversation. It makes you settle. And when you settle, you slowly lose touch with who you could have been. The longer you stay comfortable, the more your dreams shrink to match your environment. You start lowering your expectations. You tell yourself stories like, maybe I'm just not cut out for that. Or maybe this is enough. But deep down, you know that's not true. You know there's more in you. You know you're capable of more. But comfort has wrapped itself around you so tightly that even the thought of reaching for more feels exhausting. That's why we need to start treating discomfort, not as something to avoid, but as a compass. It's pointing us somewhere. It's showing us the edge of our current capabilities. And it's at that edge, not in the middle of our safety zones, where progress begins. Growth doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for motion. And comfort keeps you standing still. Now, this doesn't mean you have to throw yourself into chaos, but it does mean you have to be willing to stretch, to lean into fear, to say yes to things that scare you, to be a beginner again, to fail, to look foolish, to try and not get it right. That's the cost of growth, and it's worth every second. Because staying comfortable might give you peace today, but it will cost you purpose tomorrow. So if you feel discomfort creeping in, don't run. That's not a threat. That's your opportunity. That's the moment life is inviting you to grow. Take it, embrace it, chase it. Because nothing great was ever built in comfort. And you were not born to stay the same. Fear shows up at the exact moment we're about to do something that matters. It's that tight feeling in your chest, the voice in your head that says, what if this doesn't work? Fear isn't comfortable, but it's not your enemy. In fact, it might just be your greatest guide. Because fear, when we truly understand it, is not there to stop us. It's there to tell us that we're on the edge of something important. Fear is a signal, not a stop sign. Too many people treat fear as the end of the road. The moment they feel afraid, they step back, they retreat, they make excuses, they convince themselves that the timing isn't right or that they're not ready. But fear doesn't mean stop, it means pay attention. It means something is at stake, something is on the line. And most often that something is growth. Fear arises when we face the unknown, when we step into situations where the outcome isn't guaranteed. It shows up when we dare to leave what's safe. That's not a bad thing. It means you're not just coasting, you're stretching. You're reaching for something more. The presence of fear often means you're exactly where you're supposed to be, outside your comfort zone, right on the edge of change. The mistake we make is thinking fear is a final verdict. That because we're afraid, we should turn around. But fear isn't a closed door. It's a flashing light saying, something new is happening here. Pay attention. You're growing. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward with it. Every person who has done something meaningful has felt fear. The difference is, they didn't let it stop them. Fear is also an incredible teacher. It tells us what we value. We fear failing at something we care about. We fear rejection because we crave connection. We fear being seen because deep down we know there's something inside us worth showing. So when fear shows up, don't just ignore it. Ask it what it's trying to teach you. What does this fear reveal about who you are and what you want? When we reframe fear as a signal, we take back our power. We stop running from it and start learning from it. We begin to understand that fear is not a wall, it's a doorway. And on the other side is growth, confidence, experience, and strength. But you only get those things if you walk through. The truth is, fear and purpose are often found in the same place. That thing you're afraid to do, that conversation you're afraid to have, that risk you're afraid to take, that's the direction you need to go. Not because it's easy, but because it's where growth lives. Because it's where the next level of you is waiting. Imagine how your life would change if you stopped treating fear as the end and started seeing it as the beginning. Imagine if you leaned into it, sat with it, asked it questions, and let it guide you. What could you build? Who could you become? The people who go the furthest in life are not fearless, they're fear-aware. They know that fear will always be part of the journey, but they refuse to let it steer the wheel. So next time fear shows up, and it will, don't stop, don't shrink, don't turn away. Take a breath. The unknown is uncomfortable, it's unpredictable, unfamiliar, and sometimes terrifying, but it's also the exact environment where growth is born. We often avoid the unknown because we can't control it. We'd rather stay where things make sense, where outcomes are clear and risks are low. But if you never leave what you know, you never discover what you're capable of. The unknown builds strength. Not despite the uncertainty, but because of it. When you step into the unknown, you strip away your safety nets. You're forced to rely on your intuition, your resilience, and your ability to adapt. You start to uncover layers of yourself that would have stayed hidden in routine. You begin to see how strong you can be when there's no clear answer, when no one's telling you exactly what to do. That's when character is developed. Not when everything is figured out, but when you have to figure it out yourself. Strength doesn't come from knowing, it comes from navigating, from getting lost and still moving forward, from standing in the dark and choosing to take the next step anyway. The unknown teaches you how to be courageous, how to be resourceful, how to trust yourself even when things don't go to plan. These aren't traits you develop in comfort, they're forged in uncertainty. The greatest transformations in life almost always begin with the decision to enter the moving to a new city, starting a business, walking away from something that no longer serves you, saying yes to something you don't feel entirely ready for. None of these things come with a guarantee, but all of them stretch you. All of them build strength in ways staying put never could. The reason the unknown is so powerful is because it reveals your edges. You learn where you tend to hesitate, where your insecurities live, where your limiting beliefs try to take over. But by moving through the unknown, you challenge those limits. You rewrite the story. You prove to yourself that you can survive more than you thought, endure more than you expected, and grow in ways you never imagined. Think about anyone you admire, the leaders, the creators, the changemakers. Every single one of them had to step into the unknown at some point. They had to risk failure, judgment, or uncertainty to get where they are. They weren't strong because they had a perfect plan. They were strong because they acted despite not having one. That's the kind of strength that lasts. And here's the irony. What's unknown today eventually becomes familiar. The things that once scared you become part of your new baseline. The more you face uncertainty, the less power it holds over you. You start to realize that not knowing doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're learning. It means you're alive. So don't wait until you're ready. Don't wait until you have all the answers. The answers come from the journey, not before it. The only way to build real strength is to step out into the unknown and trust yourself enough to grow through it. The unknown isn't a void to fear, it's a space to grow. It's not the place where you lose control, it's the place where you discover how much power you truly have. So when you find yourself standing at the edge of something uncertain, take the step. Because every time you walk into the unknown, you walk closer to the strongest version of yourself. Change doesn't happen when life is easy. It doesn't happen when we're sitting in routines, doing what we've always done, surrounded by what we already know. Change, the real, lasting kind, happens at the edge. The edge of our comfort, the edge of our understanding, the edge of who we think we are. It's in that space where things feel uncertain, unfamiliar, and a little scary that transformation begins. Most people avoid the edge. They stay in the middle where it feels safe. But safety doesn't lead to growth. In fact, it often leads to stagnation. You might be secure, but you're stuck. You might be comfortable, but you're not evolving. Growth never comes from standing still. It comes from reaching, stretching, and daring to move beyond what feels easy. The edge is where we meet resistance. It's where the voice of doubt gets louder, where fear shows up and where excuses try to pull us back. But that resistance isn't there to stop us. It's there to shape us. Just like a muscle grows when pushed to its limit, we grow when we reach ours. The edge reveals how strong we really are. It shows us what we're made of. When you push to the edge, you disrupt the status quo. You challenge the version of yourself that's based on past experiences and limitations. At the edge, you have to become someone new. You have to think differently, act differently, and believe differently. That's why it feels so uncomfortable. It's not just about doing something new, it's about becoming someone new. Change doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It just shows up and asks, will you step forward? Will you lean into the unknown? Will you risk failure, discomfort, and challenge for the possibility of something greater? The people who change their lives, the people who lead and inspire and build, those are the ones who said yes to the edge. And the edge isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's a small decision, a new habit, a conversation you've been avoiding, a step you've been putting off. But those small choices stack up. Every time you choose to go a little further than you think you can, you expand, you grow, you become more. The edge is also deeply personal. What feels like a bold move to one person might feel normal to another. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you know when you're at your edge. You feel it. Your heart beats a little faster. Your mind questions whether you can do it. That's when you know change is possible. Because you're not in the middle anymore. You're at the threshold. And here's the powerful part. Once you cross that threshold, your edge moves. What once felt impossible becomes your new normal. The thing that scared you becomes part of your story. That's how growth works. It doesn't just stretch you once, it keeps calling you forward. The edge moves as you move. So if you feel like you're at a breaking point, maybe you're actually at a turning point. If you're feeling pressure, maybe that's just purpose trying to rise. And if you're uncomfortable, unsure, or afraid, you're probably standing exactly where you need to be. Because change doesn't happen in the comfort zone. Change happens at the edge. Comfort zones feel safe. They feel warm, predictable, and secure. We know the routine, we understand the expectations, and we rarely feel threatened. But what we often don't realize is that comfort zones, while comforting, are quietly limiting us. They don't set us free, they contain us. When we stay within our comfort zone, we slowly begin to live within invisible boundaries. We stop taking risks, we stop reaching, and we start shrinking our goals to fit the environment we become used to. At first, it doesn't feel like a problem. Life is manageable. But over time, those walls start to close in. What once was a choice becomes a cage. The dreams we once had start to feel distant. The boldness we once carried fades. And before we know it, we're no longer growing, we're just existing. The most dangerous thing about comfort zones is how quietly they rob us. They don't announce their limits. They don't scream that we're playing small. They simply lull us into believing that good enough is good enough, but deep down, we know better. There's a part of us that feels restless, that wants to soar, that wants to explore more of what life and we are capable of. But wings don't grow in comfort. They grow in struggle. They grow in the face of risk. They grow every time we try something new, fail, learn, and try again. Wings are built by choosing courage over convenience, by saying yes to the unknown, by doing the thing that scares us, not because we're fearless, but because we're ready to fly. The irony is that the more we try to stay safe, the less fulfilled we feel, because human beings are meant to grow. We are wired to learn, to adapt, to chase meaning, to become. Comfort zones promise peace, but they often deliver boredom. They promise safety, but they come at the cost of potential. True fulfillment comes not from staying small, but from stretching ourselves beyond what we thought was possible. Every breakthrough begins at the edge of discomfort. Every time we tear down one of those walls, we give ourselves a little more room to breathe, to move, to expand. And with every risk we take, we grow stronger, braver, more capable. It's not that the fear disappears, it's that we become bigger than it. We start to realize that those walls were never real. They were just stories we told ourselves. And the moment we choose to challenge them, we begin to reclaim our freedom. Stepping out of a comfort zone doesn't mean you have to overhaul your entire life overnight. It can start small. saying what you really feel, trying something new, admitting you don't know something and being willing to learn. Those tiny acts of courage slowly chip away at the walls, and over time, those moments stack up. They become momentum. They become growth. And growth, that's what gives you wings. So if you feel stuck, uninspired, or unchallenged, it's not because you're not capable. It's because you've been living behind the walls built by comfort. And maybe it's time to ask yourself, are these walls protecting me, or are they preventing me? Because you weren't made to stay grounded. You weren't made to play it safe. You were made to evolve, to rise, to fly. And the moment you step beyond the walls, you begin to remember something powerful. You've had wings all along. We live in a world obsessed with shortcuts, quick wins, overnight fame, instant success. Social media floods us with highlight reels, making it seem like people wake up successful, like greatness just happens. But behind every real success story is a journey most people never see. A journey filled with pain, failure, doubt, and hard choices. The truth is simple and unavoidable. Success without struggle is a lie. Struggle isn't the enemy, it's the process. It's the fire that forges strength, discipline, and resilience. It's the test that separates who wants it from who's willing to work for it. You don't become your best self when everything is easy. You become your best self when things are hard, and you choose to show up anyway. We've been sold a dangerous idea that if you're struggling, something must be wrong. That if it's hard, maybe it's not meant to be. But the opposite is true. If it's hard, it means you're doing something that matters. It means you're not settling. It means you're on the path to something real. Because anything worth having will challenge you. It will stretch you. It will demand everything from you and give back even more. But only if you keep going. Struggle teaches what success never could on its own. It teaches patience when results don't come quickly. It teaches humility when you fall short. It teaches persistence when quitting would be easier. And most importantly, it teaches gratitude, because when you fight for something, you value it so much more. Success without the lessons of struggle is fragile. It's surface level. It is the moment things get tough, and they always do, someone who never learned how to fight for it won't know how to hold on to it. But someone who's built their success brick by brick, failure by failure, will be unshakable. Because they didn't just win, they earned it. There is no glory without the grind. The late nights, the sacrifices, the moments of doubt that you had to silence with effort, those are the hidden chapters of every success story. And yes, struggle hurts. It's not glamorous. It's lonely. It tests you in ways you never expected, but it also reveals your strength. It shows you what you're capable of. It pulls greatness out of you that comfort never could. The ones who succeed long term are not the most talented or the most lucky. They're the ones who are willing to struggle longer, harder, and with more purpose than most. They understand that failure is not a sign to stop, but a step forward. That discomfort isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's shaping them for the moment they're ready to rise. Success isn't found in the spotlight. It's built in silence, when no one's clapping, when no one's watching, and when it would be so easy to quit. It's built when you keep going, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. So stop chasing ease. Stop expecting it to be smooth. Instead, expect resistance, expect setbacks, expect to fall, and then get back up again. Because every scar tells a story. Every obstacle is a lesson. Every struggle is building you for the next level. When you finally reach that goal, when you cross that finish line, you won't just feel proud, you feel powerful.